Science, Fish, Chapter 6, March 31st, Tuesday. All right, so I hope y'all are enjoying your study of fish so far. I have found it very interesting. I studied this book probably about 15 years ago, maybe not quite that long. So I remember some of it, but I'm learning right along with you and having to study it right along with you. So know that. All right, so yesterday we talked about a fish has senses just like humans do. They see, they hear, they smell, they touch. So we talked about yesterday the fact that they can smell. They have four nares, and they can smell the chemicals that are in the water. So they're able to smell their prey even miles away, which would be very helpful. Their eyes, depending on where they tend to live most of the time, if they're closer to the surface, they tend to have the smaller eyes because there's more light that's able to get through that layer of water, and they're able to see a lot better and more colors and things. But as you go deeper into the water and less light is able to penetrate that far down, their eyes have to be bigger in order to bring in more light, but they just don't have the sense of seeing quite as well as the fish that live closer to the top. They also can hear. Our ears we hear very muffled in the water, but their ears are perfect for that. And it's actually, from our reading, it's very noisy in the ocean for the fish, but helpful for them to know what's going on around them. The last one we're going to talk about is touch. So how does a fish touch? Yes, they have a sense. They don't actually rub up against something. I'm sure they can still feel that, but they can actually touch and feel something that's away from them in the water by feeling the vibrations in the water. And they do that using the lateral lines. And so those lines on the fish that we thought were just for beauty are actually used for something. So these lateral means up and down. Those lateral lines have pores in them, and inside those pores are little tiny hairs, that just like the hairs in our eardrums. They can pick up the vibration, just like our ears, the hairs in our ears pick up the vibration of the air. The vibration in the water is picked up with those hairs, and electrical impulses sent to their brain, and they are able to know if there's something large next in the water near them, and it's probably a predator, or there's something smaller, and it could be dinner. And so that helps them to touch what's around them without actually touching things. Okay. All right. So that is pretty much, I just wanted to finish up the senses. You were to read up to page 98, and then tomorrow you'll pick up with stages of life of a fish, which is interesting. I did want to review the different shapes of a fish. So you have the fusiform, which is kind of like a bullet on each end, which would be for speed, from like your shark. And then you have the eel-like, which is like a ribbon for your eel, typically is that shape, and they can hide in crevices and then dart out to get their prey. Other shapes, I'm trying to think, and it has left me. So that's your job, to come up with the other shapes, because Miss Harrison just, her mind went blank. I should have written it out. But then we have also the defenses that the fish use, and that a couple of those would be like their bright colors. It's not just for our beauty, but also to warn predators that they have poisonous spines or poisonous quills, and it's a warning. Those bright colors are actually a warning. They could swim in a school of fish is also a way of defense. Camouflage. They blend in with their surrounding. And then there's also like the stingray, that when you looked up at a stingray, it's going to be lighter on the bottom side so that it blends in with the sun coming down. And then if you're looking down on top of a stingray, it's going to be dark. And that's so that it blends in with the darkness of the ocean floor. So those are just some of the things. So I am going to work on a review sheet today and get that to you in the next day or so. So you have plenty of time to review it you will at the end of this week draw a picture for me of a fish and its fins, label the fins, and then in a video, you can either do that with a picture, you could go out and do it with sidewalk chalk, however you want to do. I just want a picture of a fish with fins and labeled. You can be as creative as you want, but then be able to tell me what those fins, how they help the fish. Okay. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed your lesson today. We do have our biblical principle that goes along with that, and we have been talking about Mark 1:17 and being fishers of men. And we can still be fishers of men during this time, and it's all in how we decide to respond to being in our home and only having electronics to reach other people, or letters. That's how they used to have to do it a long time. We're blessed that we can do it through electronics nowadays. But you know how excited you get when you get a written letter in the mail. It's maybe some of you never have. And then that way you could practice writing addresses on the envelope. That would be a good experience for you. Anyway, look for a way to be fishers of men during these hard times. Love you.